Yo. Welcome to the NS9 Postgame show powered by Primanti Brothers. I, of course, am your host, Anthony DiNardo. With me, we have the Dougie Fresh. Doug, we got to talk about this game.
We have to, right? We have to. I don't think I can do it 50 more times, but
unfortunately, we have to talk about it an hour and a half after we initially wanted to talk about it. But it's
the third game of the season. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe how frustrated I already am after 3 games.
I've done 2 out of 3 games. They both have been games where they have lost the lead to the Miami Marlins in a pathetic fashion. And today was absolutely one of those as well. It just, Bailey Falter makes the start today. Bailey Falter looked good. We'll definitely talk about that. But just the Pirates blowing opportunities. The Pirates are not a team that can't afford to do the small things right. And they seem to find a way to always do the small things wrong or incorrectly.
Yeah. It's stunning. Like I said, a team that talks about, this is talking points for their broadcast team. We have to win in the margins. We have to do the little things right. They had 2 runners thrown out at home and another caught in a rundown between third and home. The outfielders all looked like it was their, first day in the outfield. 0 for 6, I think, from the leadoff position. Just throwing it when you shouldn't throw it, diving when you shouldn't dive. Look, the best players on this team right now appear to be IKF and Adam Frazier, right?
Honestly,
at least they're not doing stupid stuff, and they're scratching out hits here and there. They're getting their steals. I didn't understand why we signed Adam Frazier. I didn't understand how he made the roster, and now I'm like, please don't get rid of him. He's the only one that knows what to do when the ball comes to him.
He was like the saving grace for this team if there was going to be a chance. Right. They're both times. We'll talk more about this, but there's a guy. The game should have been over. Right. Adam Frazier makes a clutch play at second, throws the ball to home to make the key out at home to keep the game going for the Pirates, to give them hope. And Adam Frazier also had a key hit today, followed by IKF. So like you said, IKF had a bad throw the first game. But as far as that's an ability thing, I think more of, right? But they're doing the things correctly they need to be doing, or else the other guys who have the abilities are just doing the things that they should be doing incorrectly. Oh no, Cruz today once again having a bad game, throwing it home instead of second base, simply not catching a ball in the outfield late in the game. Jack Suwinski making a diving catch or attempting to when you probably just let that go, not in that moment. Also, simply not catching a ball. But he did look good.
I'm sorry, 3 guys. No, Pham got thrown. Okay, no, I was going to say, Pham, one of our veterans, brought in for veteran leadership, thrown out at home on just stupid.
But
stupid.
Not on him. Like he was being sent.
Yeah, he was being sent.
What's Rebello doing in that situation?
Right. Yeah.
So
it's the perfect confluence of just bad on so many levels. It's bad management decisions, but bad coaching, players making, doing dumb things. The players aren't totally unaccountable in some of these bad decisions, right? You can't just blame it all on coaching. If we were watching Tyler's high school team that he coaches and they played a game like this, I would have to tell, my all-time favorite person, Tyler, you're a terrible coach, dude. That's awful, right? You would be mad at this stuff when it little league and junior high school baseball. And we're doing it at, well, I would not say we're at the highest level because we're at the bottom of the.
Well, they're participating in the highest.
Right, but we are participating.
We'll
yes. We're lucky there's not relegation. It's frustrating. you go play the Dodgers and you lose and you play a nice clean game. You could, it's fine. But you're losing to the Marlins. I've watched them now for 3 days, and the only name I still know on that team is Conine, and that's only because I know his dad. I don't know who are these guys. It's like a bad scene out of Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid. Like, who are these guys? I don't know. You're hearing, oh, yes, this guy's never had a hit in the major leagues. This guy's never had, and they've taken 2 out of 3. And I would say that we've handed, both of the games to them, but they've worked as hard as giving the game to us as we have. They're just as bad, or possible. Well, I wouldn't say
well, not just as bad. They were just a little less bad.
Right.
They've proven that, taking 2 out of 3 so far.
2 out of 3, right? And we've wasted 3 good starts. This is a team, and we talk about this a lot. This is a team built on its rotation. And that when you're, again, trying to do the little things right and winning in the margins and trying to win with pitching, you need to surround that with good defense, back that up with good defense. And this team, we've got 4 guys playing out of position. I imagine that when the Pirates decide to move to Brian Reynolds to first base, he's going to be running out to right field, and they're going to say, no, Brian, come back. You're playing first today. Right. I mean, it makes, their decision on when to move a guy and how they handle it. It just makes 0 sense. I mean, it's just bad at every level. So.
BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and number 1 source for betting on all the madness. Even if your bracket is busted, BetOnline has more ways to stay in the action with a free Sweet 16 bracket and live betting on every remaining tournament game. With the largest selection of odds on everything from college basketball to MLB, NHL, and MMA, BetOnline continues to be your number 1 sports betting source. From every Cinderella story to every hat trick, BetOnline has you covered with odds, stats, and more for every game, every play, every win. BetOnline, the game starts here. Doug, I don't think this is the post-game show to kind of talk about this game in chronological order and whatnot. I mean, and also realize it's 3 games into the season. So a lot of this is overreaction, right? So I want to preference this. Anything and everything we say, we also understand small sample. With that said, to move forward, I think the story of this is, what do you think, what is Derek Shelton's stamp on his tenure? Like, how do you define Derek Shelton with his tenure as the Pirates? And I honestly, I'm going to ask you this and I'll let you answer, but I want to say this. All I can think of is just poor execution all around.
Yeah.
You can question Derek Shelton and his decisions and whatnot. And of course, every manager is going to get those questions as well. I mean, from top to bottom, doesn't matter who you are, you're always going to get questioned. That's the life of a manager, right? Valid or not. But like, when you look at his people, his play, the team that he manages, right? He's the leader amongst these men. It just seems as if it's always, we're not prepared. We don't understand. We don't know what we're doing. We don't do the fundamentals. Again, like all this. And now again, we talk, and that's why we talk year 6. It's year 6. Well, it's year 6 for Ben Cherington, right? We talk about that in the offseason and in the field, the product on the field, but like, it's year 6 for Derek Shelton as well. We're now 3 games into this season, and all we see time after time after time, and now within these 3 games loaded with them, is just blunders. A team that's not prepared, a team that's not ready, a team that doesn't understand how to play the game of baseball. How can you be doing this still, if you're talking about it's time to win, if you're looking at, it is time to go, we have Paul Skeens, we've built what we've needed to build to get us to the playoffs. How are we still having these conversations right now?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't know. Right. The only thing, if I had to put sort of a stamp on Shelton's name, his tenure, I'd say he's a good company man. Right. He never throws shade at the front office. He remember how Lloyd McClendon would say, I just don't have good enough players. He was always like, hey, this ain't on me. And so, Shelton, I mean, man, he takes it. But I just think it's so many different things that he's done. And here's the thing. Remember in 2021, how fundamentally sound we were? Other teams, I listen to a lot of the other teams like radio sometimes just to see what they're saying. And I remember, I was living in Alabama and I was considered part of the Atlanta I'd get blacked out. I couldn't watch the Atlanta games, and I would listen to their radio feed. But we played them 7 times a year. Every single game, they mentioned how Shelton had that team out there doing infield practice before every game. He said other teams don't do that, and we were very good, very sound fundamentally that year. So I thought, all right, this guy, maybe this is he realizes we're never going to out talent other teams. Right. That's just not going to happen. We have to win and I guess what makes it more frustrating is that they talk about this. This is we have to win by doing the little things. And they don't, they look clueless when it comes to doing the little things. I mean, Jack Suwinski is not a first-year outfielder. He's played outfield his whole life. I'd have been mad, I would have been mad if I'm going to go see the Marauders play in Daytona next week. And if I see Connor Griffin make a dive like that, I'm going to be like, what are you thinking, dude? You know what I'm saying? And, and he'll be playing one of his first games in center field. As how much more of a pass can we continue to give O'Neal Cruz? I know he's only played about 30 games in center field, but the throw decisions have just been awful. I get it. That arm is a weapon, but sometimes you just got to keep that thing in the holster. And I don't. And I mean, I have no idea what kind of coaching. What is Shelton saying to these guys after the game? Does anyone pull him aside in the dugout after that and say, Jack, appreciate the effort, appreciate the commitment, but in that situation, you got to hold them to the single. We're late in this thing, and you know what I'm saying. Like, is that happening? I don't know. It sure doesn't seem like it. It sure doesn't seem like it.
And that's part of the thing. I mean, perception is reality, and we don't know what's going on in there. But like at this point in time, that's why I stress. Like you're 6 years into this now. Right. It's the same things that are happening. So I think it's quite valid to question: are those things happening? Because if they are, you would imagine this stuff is getting cleaned up, but they're not.
It's players that have been here several years now too. So, you know what I'm saying? So it's not like, oh, well, we just got this guy from another organization and he doesn't, we haven't got our hands on him yet, as they like to say. No, I mean, this is, this guy's been here for years. Right. And guys have been making the same mistakes. Right. And just, no correction, no cleanup. It's frustrating again. And it's all the more frustrating because it's what they talk about they have to do. And then, none of them do it,
100%. Yeah. 100%. And like to go, like you mentioned, like how many passes Cruz going to get. And I get that. And like, there's always like some reason to some degree, right? I mean, like he lost the whole year. He was injured, a major injury, like last year, starting off slow, coming back. I mean, he got better offensively. And then at the end of the year, it's like, oh, by the way, you're a center fielder now.
Right.
We just dumped that on you. Like that wasn't fair to him. He goes to this offseason. So like we've talked, and I want to stress this too again, because I feel like we're gonna have to do this a lot this year, right? Oh no, Cruz was put in a bad situation. Again, he was dumped into center field. This is going to be a learning process. We understand that. There's going to be moments where Cruz is going to have to learn on the fly. And what's going to be most important isn't so much the mistake that he makes. It's, does he learn from that mistake and make it again? Okay. But there are just some things that are almost like inexcusable, Now, like you mentioned with the arm, and I said that on Twitter today, like I do feel probably one of his biggest problems coming in at center field right now is he knows that arm is a weapon. And it absolutely is. That's what makes him so dangerous in center field. And I think he wants to show it. I think he wants to prove himself. And I think that's what happened. Like, I don't know, right? I'm not suggesting this exactly what it is, but I'm hinting maybe this is what it is, right? Like, it's not just totally IQ. It's, I have this arm. I'm out here to prove the world. I'm out here to make the highlights and whatever. And you have to put that in the back pocket sometimes.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right.
Understand the situation more than just I have this arm and I'm out here to show it off.
Well, I think that's right. I do. I think, he knows the move to center field comes with some questions. He wants to show that, again, he's a proud young guy. I mean, he wants to show that he's capable. I mean, I think it's part of the reason he's running so much too. right? I think he heard a lot of the LA De La Cruz stuff. He's like, yeah, wait a minute now. I can steal bases too, and he's healthy now. He feels good about what he's doing, and he wants to show what he can do.
Of course.
So that's where coaching comes in, right? Listen, O'Neill.
But also accountability and self-awareness on the player to receive that, take it in, and learn from it. And that's why I do say that.
That should have happened twice now, right?
But that's why I said, mistakes are going to happen. What you learn from and do afterwards. And now this is twice in 3 games he's done it. So like I said, there's validation and reason to say there's some excuses. There's some things to back up off of Cruz because it's not totally his fault. He's put in a bad situation to begin with. But you got to learn. You got to do it. This is the situation you're in now. To be good for this team, to help them get there, you have to clean up. You have to do things right. Yeah. Now you've made that second error again in 3 games. Like that's becoming the inexcusable part.
Yeah, absolutely. It's again, this team, we have to be smarter. We scored 4 runs in all 3 games, right? We're not gonna do what the Yankees did.
I'll say this. Right? It's 2 more than I was expecting.
yeah, exactly. Right. And, like Jim said, when you get 4 runs in a Paul Skeens start, you have to win. But part of the reason we didn't win is because of, some outfield throws and some outfield play. And he now needs, again, someone needs to pull him aside. And hopefully they did after the first game. And hopefully they did today and say, listen, you just have to be smarter out there. You can't let that runner get to second base. Again, he got, thrown out at home as well. I don't know, was he being sent or not, but we have to play winning baseball. We can't play, look at me, how good I am baseball. We just can't. It's a all hands on deck.
This team doesn't have enough players of look at me, how good I am.
Right.
You're hitting the head right there. Like this team, if they're going to be successful, they have to do the small things right. They have to. They cannot mess up there because they don't have the talent to make up for it.
Yeah, and it's not even to be successful. To be mediocre, this team has to do the little things right. You know what I'm saying? Like to scratch their way to 78, 79, 80 wins, they have to do the small things right. And then they need a bunch of other things to break the right way for them. They are striking out less if we've seen any sort of stuff, but there's still, it's like you said, people being set up to fail. We've done that with Cruz. We're doing that with IKF. We've doing it with Endy. We're just asking people to do things and that then we don't prepare them to do, properly. You had a whole spring for Endy to take some grounders at first, and we're like, nah, he'll be fine. It's just, it's just criminal, what they're doing. And again, this team isn't talented enough to be able to overcome these kind of mistakes, right? The Yankees can overcome this because, Aaron Judge is coming up 5 times a game. We're bringing up guys that are, we're playing G1 Bay at leadoff. We have to overcome that mistake. We have to, we've got Jared Triolo, out there. The bottom of the lineup did, again, IKF and Adam Frazier were fine today. You got some, Joey Bart was fine. Cruz, I love Cruz taking walks, but again, I would walk him every day. Why would you pitch to him? He's just about the only guy in the lineup that can beat you. So it's fine. Like, hey, let him get up, walk him to first, let him steal second. That's fine. He'll overrun third base and get thrown out, and and nobody else will bring him in. So.
Right. No, and I think we said our piece here. Again, like that was the absolute story. But let's go in and dive into the game. There's certainly some highlights and excellent stuff that happened today. And I do want to start on that sense with Bailey Falter. So got all the bad vibes out. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit openly about some other players who did some good things. And Bailey Falter had a really good game, I thought. He had for what you expected Bailey Falter to do in 2024, he had a really good season. And he comes into this game, and I think the story of 2025 is, are you going to replicate that, Bailey Falter? Who are you? I think a lot can look and say he might take a step back a little bit. He might not perform as good as he did last year. But even if he does that, it's still good enough. There's still a lot of depth that someone can take over Bailey Falter, like how so be it and whatnot. Bailey Falter comes to this game, and you know what, Doug? He looked good. And I get it's the Marlins, but that's who was there, right? Can't change that.
Right.
He was locating the fastball mostly high in a good location and locating the curveball mostly good down location. And the fastball had a little more zip on it today, I felt. And again, like he had the injury, so he didn't have like the full spring effect. And it's early in April, so typically the pitchers aren't topping out velocity, right? They're still building up. You start seeing them later in April and May hitting that mark. He looked good today. And, I'm not expecting Bailey Falter to look this good all the time, but it's like, if he can do this, and again, like I think it's something he can, but like Bailey Falter looks kind of intriguing after seeing him today.
Yeah, he does. I mean, you go back to last year's spring training and we were outraged that he was on the roster. And then, further still outraged when we found out he was going to be in the rotation. And then he gives up 5 runs in the first inning against the Marlins. And we're like, we told you. And, and then he didn't give up a run again until June, it seemed like. He certainly exceeded expectations. He had a really, really good start to the season last year and then sort of leveled out. But yeah, so it was, again, what do you expect from him? We were counting on him to be the 4th starter. He's had to move up to 3rd. He gave you 6 innings in his first start. He didn't walk anybody. He only gave up 2 runs.
And a big key there.
Yeah. I mean, that's all. He's exceeding expectations, right? I'm very pleased with him. Yes, I would like to get someone up there in the 3rd spot that's a little more dynamic, a little more effective. But when Bailey Falter's starting, I like our chances. Again, he can't fix up all that other stuff going on behind him and when we're up at bat. But I feel like he's going to keep us in the game. He's going to give us 6, 7 innings. Something that's, as we've seen from our bullpen, this team is desperately going to need innings from the starters. His fastball is good. He locates it pretty well. He gets the extension, and he's throwing that high fastball. And I'm very pleased with what he did today. If he does that every start, he's a find. He is intriguing, and we're lucky to have him.
Yeah, and like I say that because like Bailey Falter's not good enough where if he makes a mistake, like he's gonna blow that fastball by the pitchers. Like his stuff is just that good that if he makes a mistake, it's still good enough. I said past the pitchers, past the hitters. And what I allude to in that also is, when he did get hit today, he got hit pretty hard. And that, like, if you're gonna have a knock on him for today's start, right, a little bit of worry, right, when he wasn't locating a fastball, when it was catching a lot of the middle of the plate, or even like that curveball that got driven a few times, right, when it wasn't hitting it down low enough, right? Kind of keeping it up. He's going to get hit. He's going to get hit hard. But it's almost like we were talking about Jared Jones last year, with his 2 pitches and such, right? How he gets hit hard, but it's not often. And like with Bailey Falter, he eliminates walks. Like he's throwing strikes. So when he does get hit hard, typically there's not too many guys on base, if at all. So like he's limiting damage, and that's what today was. He was getting hit hard when he got hit, but there's not guys on base. So damage limited, as I mentioned, right?
Yeah,
but again, what intrigues me is the velocity was up today. So like it has me curious now because he has, like, Bailey Falter is the guy that he has to hit his spots. For him to be good, he has to hit his spots. And mostly last year he did, which is why he was mostly effective. If he's throwing more 94 now than like 92 where he was last year, right? 94, 93. Maybe get away with a little more stuff.
Right.
And again, like that's where he was today on his first start. Is there potential that increases even further? I don't know. So again, like the DiNardo intrigue alert, we all joke about, right? I do get intrigued on things. This has me intrigued. is a different Bailey Falter, is a new and improved Bailey Falter on the horizon for us. I'm watching.
Yeah, I mean, it's early, so, can he maintain that increased velocity? We'll have to wait and see. I did notice it seemed that when he did get hit hard today, but frequently it was with 2 outs and nobody on.
Yeah.
And
Or
you're
the
like,
leadoff
okay,
hitter. It was one or the
right,
other, I felt.
yeah. It's like, okay, right, I can live with that. And again, I mean, he just shows how important it is to not walk people, right? If you don't make mistakes, if you don't put runners on, give them extra outs, that sort of thing, um, you can work around some hard hit balls. You can work around. That's again with Jared Jones last year. It's like, hey, gave up a solo home run. It's not the end of the world, right?
Right. Exactly.
So, but as long as you keep it to solo shots and with 2 outs, and like you said, leadoff single, that's fine. Again, as long as you don't follow it, because so often with us is we give up a leadoff hit and then we walk the next 2 guys. But Bailey Falter, you know, uh, Bailey Falter is sort of doing the little things right? Like he is sort of kind of embodying, like he's using his abilities to the best of its advantage, and he's not making mistakes that put him in bad situations where then his physical limitations can, not get him out of the jam type thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And, like Jim said here, I preference the show. It's small sample is all we have to go off of. So I understand it. Could it be he was just feeling good today? I get it. That's why I'm watching. I'm on alert though. I want to see next game what's here in front of us. So yeah, kudos, Bailey Falter. Moving on. I just want to talk quickly the bullpen as a whole, right? They did come through. I know it got shaky there for a little bit, but Joey Wentz, great job. Dennis Santana, right. Great job. Holderman,
that was very
again, that was
for me
shaky,
because,
but he came through.
Santana looked so good last year, and then he looked so good in spring, and then in his first outing, it's like, I'm like, oh, come on. So I think he's, 12 pitches, got out of there, quick, and I'm like, okay, good. But yeah, the bullpen, Holderman. I mean, again, it was scary, and
yeah, I mean, you weren't not nervous.
Yeah, and when is that going to happen this year? Then we're not nervous with this bullpen. But Wentz was a dude today.
He literally wore it. He took one, right?
Yeah. So it's
so
it was encouraging.
To the bullpen there. To the offensive side, again, like there were some things to talk about. Something that I'm also noticing early, and maybe it's just the Marlins are just really, 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 really bad behind the dish. But the Pirates are running literally all over them. All over them. They said a thing on air, and that was before the other stolen bases. I think right now the Pirates have 25% of the league. I'm sorry, MLB in total stolen bases. Right? I think it's 14. Right, like 14 stolen bases they had in this series. They're running all over them. Cruz had 2 today, 4 stolen bases now in 3 games for Onel Cruz. Also, he walked 4 times today. We'll talk about that. 1 intentional, but still 4 walks. But this team is running wow. So we talked about this team as a team that also can't afford to not do the small things that they want to be good, right? This is also a team that lacks in the power department. Well, how do you potentially make up for that, Doug? Well, maybe you run wild. Maybe you play some small ball. And it seems as if that's something so far in 3 games that they're doing. And I love every bit of it.
They're halfway doing it. They're stealing bases.
Well, but
they're not really moving runners. That nobody on the team knows how to bunt. They're all swinging.
They have the idea,
that sort of thing. But you're and when you get down to Adam Frazier and IKF, right? You're getting some small ball type stuff. But you're right. I mean, we saw this in 2023. We ran like wild for the first week of the season. And then G1 Bay got thrown out, picked off first and thrown out at second, and boom, we never ran again for the rest of the season. So I hope this isn't a mirage. I hope, because it is a way for the Pirates to win games. You're right. We lack power. Dramatically less power than most lineups in baseball. And so, if you can, get guys on, singles, walks, that sort of thing, and then suddenly where they're doing double steals, get guys to second and third, stuff can happen, especially now that they seem to be striking out less, right? Contact, things happen, So
Like
like I
Adam
said, I
Frazier,
hope,
grounding
yeah,
out, but scoring a
right.
run.
Yeah, exactly. So I hope this is, something they plan on doing all season long. I'd love to see Cruz, with 40 plus steals. It would be great. I would love to see
Make it
guys
happen.
like, Hayes and, Hayes with over 20 and Reynolds with 15, that sort of thing. Keep them, keep them running, keep them moving, keep trying to get that extra base. I would like to see them do some other things with the bat in their hands to move some guys around and do that sort of thing. But hey, baby steps. And right now, what are we, 14 for 14 in stolen bases?
Yeah.
That's fantastic, right? I mean,
You want a base, you just take it.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
what they're
it's
doing
that
right now.
simple, right? Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And again, like I'm not anticipating 750 steals on the year for the Pirates, right? Like
mm,
that's going to come down. But again, this is something like I'm looking into it now. I felt before the season, and now I feel way better about it. That I think no Cruz is going to steal 40 bags this year. And again, he's got 4 in 3 games. So I'm pretty confident that might be coming damn near true or close, right? But it's not
right.
even just him. It's everybody. Even Brian Hayes certainly being a force on the bases right now so far. So this is something that, again, like if this team is going to find success, it's not hitting the ball over the fence. So how else are you going to do it? Stealing some
Yeah,
bags, getting aggressive, right? Timely hitting, which again, like you mentioned, they haven't totally executed, but they have at times. And it's been because like today when Ono stole that base, right? He stole second base. Bart hit him in, right? It was all because he
yeah,
was able to get on. First off, get on via walk, which is huge because he had
right.
3. He has what now? 6. He's 6 walks and 2 strikeouts. 6 walks and 2 strikeouts now in 3 games.
Yeah, I mean, right. I mean, he's looking to be an on-base machine. We know he has power, right? It's like this could be a breakout, maybe not in a way that we expected it, right? But I'll take 20-40. 20.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
absolutely.
And especially if he's walking that much, right? Like if they're going to take the bat out of his hands, make them pay. Um, I also thought a little different is that Jack Suwinski hit the ball hard today.
I
Um,
want to talk about Jack too. Yeah. Yep.
okay.
Let's end on Jack for sure.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he had a great spring. And we've seen both sides of that. We've seen people have terrible springs start out great, and guys that have had awful spring, or great spring start out terrible. And Jack is one of those guys. Especially when we talk about the lack of power. If this guy could hit the ball hard consistently, and 3 of his bats, he crushed it. I mean that home. I mean that was straight up robbery. What a fantastic
Oh
catch
my
by Conan. I mean
God.
that
Right.
I mean it's so yeah, but if he keeps hitting the ball this hard, and we love talking about exit velocity, and we've always had some guys that have some great exit velocity that hasn't necessarily got the results, but I think if Jack keeps hitting the ball this hard, he could have a pretty good season, and I would love to see him take the job away from Tommy Pham, if or at least just get more the lion's share of the bats, that sort of thing, because he's got some work to do in the outfield too. Yeah,
Yep.
as apparently everybody on the team does.
Yeah.
But
However, I mean he did make some good plays, but
yes,
also he made some blunders.
right. Yeah, again, when a guy dives for a ball, right, it wasn't the smartest decision, but at least he's not lollygagging over to first, but he's not lying. He's
Yeah,
he's
sure,
he's, he's
sure.
playing hard. I mean, you have to play smart and you have to play hard, but some mistakes are easier to forgive than others, and
The hustle
effort
mistakes.
mistakes. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, um, but yeah, it was encouraging. We haven't seen much of him yet, this year, and then come in and hit the ball hard like that. It's just an encouraging sign because man, we sure do need it.
Yeah. As mentioned again, talking about if this team is going to be successful, right? I think Jack's a big part of that. If you're seeing Jack come back close, hopefully even better. But if he's close to being 2023 Jack Suwinski, that's going to be huge because now you're really pushing off Tommy Pham into that back role now, right? Being the guy that you would rather him be, like maybe the guy on the bench. You'd rather him be there for the voice, for the leadership, than like for the talent. And if Jack can push him off of that, that would do a lot of good. And today was his first day of proving himself once again in 2025. One strikeout. To your point, right? Like he was hitting the ball hard, and I'm going to call this person out, Dawn on Twitter, who says, "Who gives an F about velocities? Pirates and their fans, right?" Well, there is reason to this. Jack Suwinski, and today is a big part of that. Jack looked good at a plate. He was hitting the ball very, very well. 2024 Jack wasn't doing that, and actually 2023 Jack was doing that to a degree, but a lot of times he was watching his balls go by and therefore striking out. Today, he was making contact. He was making good contact. He did get a big hit. He had a home run robbed from him. 3 of the hardest exit velocities, 3 of the 8 hardest today came from Jack Suwinski. And so, yes, I credit that. Jack Suwinski had a good game offensively, better than the box score shows. It is one game, but Jack Suwinski is going to be a big part of this team's success if they are successful. So, again, as the season keeps going, Jack's the guy I'm looking, and so far from him, good game. So
it's encouraging.
I want to end this on saying kudos to Jack Suwinski because this could be your redemption year, and I hope it is. And so far, game 1, even though there were some things you want to take back, I was happy for him.
Yeah, it's just an encouraging sign. Like we've said 3 times throughout this, it's the 3rd game of the season. It was Jack's first game. We cannot glean anything from this. But again, encouraging signs. And, sometimes that's all we have to cling to.
So, all right, Doug, we want to wrap this thing up. Unfortunately, there's no sandwiches today. The Pirates lost. They are 0-2 when I'm on post-game shows so far. So take that for what it's worth. But yeah, anything else you want to say before we get out of here?
No. No. I clean it up, fellas. Clean it up. Let's tomorrow, Heaney tomorrow, right? It'll be interesting to see what he does.
Oh, actually,
or is it
my bad? My bad. No, I was looking at a comment here. No, tomorrow is it is Heaney versus Max Meyer. So Heaney making his Pirates debut.
All right. Well, there we go.
But I guess I'll say this before we go. Penn, I did see that. I didn't address it because I don't know what you meant by the -13 defensive run saves, 45 errors. He's bad. I don't know who that was about. But I did bring it up. Penn, you're awesome though.
Yeah.
But I guess before we leave, just let everyone know. We'll be back tomorrow after that post game. Jim will be back on, and I forget who else. I think it's Jim and Tyler. I think I don't know. I think it's Jim and Cody actually. But tomorrow we'll be back on for the post game show. As it currently stands right now, it's 8 o'clock. It's 8:30, so there's roughly about 15 and a half hours. Our NS9 merch drop is still live, but it ends tomorrow at noon. So if you want to get your NS9 merch, where we have some shirts, we have a hoodie, a hat, go ahead and do so.
You gotta get the dope shirt, man.
the dope. Yes.
Yeah, get a sense of humor.
Pitching efficiency.
Right. And get a Department of Pitching efficiencies or a nice little player in honor of Adam Frazier.
Yeah, or Nick York or any of these guys. They're all just nice little ball players.
Nice little ball players. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So, but anyways, we're out of here. We appreciate you all as always. We love you guys. We'll be back tomorrow.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
All right, that wraps up this episode of North Shore 9. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whether you're listening on the podcast or catching us on YouTube, if you enjoyed the show, please give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It really helps us grow. And if you're listening on the podcast, a quick review goes a long way in helping others find the show. Plus, be sure to tell a friend about us. There's always room for more here in the NS9 community. And for those looking to support us a little more, consider joining our Patreon, become an MVP member, and get exclusive perks while helping us continue to bring you more of the Pirates content you love. Thanks again for all your support, and let's go Bucs.